Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's football show. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Alison McConnell are here with me on this Monday to look back over the weekend's results in the Scottish Premiership, discuss all the latest stories breaking on this Monday, and of course get your thoughts as well. We are exclusively live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. If you hit the subscribe button, then you will be kept up to date with all our unique video content. Don't forget, the website has all the latest breaking stories, and if you want them at your fingertips, you can download the PLZ Soccer app as well, and you can contribute there as well. So once we've done all the promos, what is there to talk about? Quite a lot, to be honest with you. Are Celtic a rudderless ship on and off the park? Give us your thoughts on that. Have Rangers lost their invincibility? What about Stephen Glass? Is he under pressure? If you're a Dons fan out there, we'll hear from Andrew Shiney up in the northeast to get his thoughts on that. And over the weekend, another legend bows out. The sad passing of 81-year-old Jimmy Greaves. He was world-class at goal scoring and certainly one of the all-time greats in English football's history. We will reflect on the great Jimmy Greaves as well. So, all that to talk about. Of course, starting at some of the main points that we discussed there. Celtic lose again, Ruffy. Can't get it right against Livingston, just can't play in that park.
No, they had all the possession. I mean, it's absolutely incredible when you see the score. If you go by stats, 80% possession, and getting beat 1-0, you must start saying to yourself, where's it all going wrong? And I think they're just lightweight. I don't think they've got anybody organising anything. I think they're missing a Scott Brown, they're missing somebody in the middle, there's a leadership. They all just seem to be doing their own thing, and it's not working. Yeah, they had chances, big goalkeeper had 2 or 3 saves, but end result is another defeat, and that's what people will remember, and people will start throwing up stats, 3 losses away from home, and he's got to get it sorted out. He can't keep saying, they're playing beautiful football and it's good to watch. At the end of the day, it's winning games of football. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, well, he's not making excuses after the game, Ange Postecoglou.
Our front third play was poor today. It's probably the poorest it's been all year. We've obviously had some issues defensively, but I just thought today in the front half we were just terrible, and that was everybody, not just the strikers or the attacking players. It just, we lacked a real conviction in going forward to be positive, and so again that falls on me to get it right.
Terrible all over. Here's the stats home and away for Celtic. It's not good reading for Celtic fans. Played 7, won 6 at home, drawn 1, lost none, and the goal difference of plus 21. But look at the form away from home, Alison. Played 7, won 1, drawn none, lost 6, goal difference minus 4.
It's a staggering record. I think you have to go back to Valentine's Day in St Johnstone. I think that's the last time Celtic won a domestic game away from home. I think it all points to a very soft centre. I think they lack incredible elements of the game that are fundamental to any kind of success. Leadership would be one of them. I think Callum McGregor is a hugely significant miss when he's out. I think when you take Furuhashi out, you miss his energy, his movement all of a sudden. They don't look like a team who are capable of scoring goals. I thought the performance yesterday is probably the worst of Ange Postecoglou's reign. I thought it was bereft of imagination, of creativity, of ideas. I think when you look at the stats and you have that amount of possession, Celtic didn't have any real chances that would be reflective of that amount of control in the game. I didn't think they ever looked like winning once they had conceded, and I think these are considerable issues that will need to be addressed if you are to harbour any hopes at all of a title challenge. Then these are the issues that you need to look at.
Yeah, well, I mean, Alison's mentioned there they're missing Furuhashi. He's only in the door. I don't see any great. I think there's chopping and changing in positions. I don't think there's an out-and-out leader. I mean, I like McGregor. I'm a big fan of McGregor, but there's no out-and-out leader. I thought McCarthy was absolutely woeful yesterday.
He had a shocker. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. I think he's come in. He's probably one of the guys you're looking at as an experienced player, great career down in England. He came up and yesterday he was terrible. I think he was lucky to last 60 or 70 minutes. He had a really poor game. And Ruffy touched on it. I think Celtic lightweight away from home. I think at home, they can go and play expansive and teams are on their face. A lot of teams that come to Celtic Park and play 4-5-1 and Celtic get plenty of time in the ball to go and create. Away from home, teams are getting at them, pressing them, and I thought Livingston were well worth the win yesterday. I thought that, you know, Celtic were poor. I thought down the wings, very lightweight. Devlin and Longridge had the two wingers in their pocket. The big guy, Obalai, headed everything. You know, Celtic kept putting crosses in the box, and Ajetti's smaller than me. You know, he's 5'8", 5'9". He's not going to win headers in the box. And the big guy cleared everything. So I think there's a lot to ponder. Celtic's next 3 away games: Aberdeen, Hibs and Motherwell. You know, 3 very, very tough away games. So I think the honeymoon period for Postecoglou is now over after that result yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that people say the honeymoon period is over, Ruffy, but he's going to have to be given time to try and mould this team together. But as Alison and Tam have pointed out here, if Rangers were not showing the form they are at the moment, then they could have been well out of sight early on in this campaign.
Yeah, I think he's very fortunate. I don't know what he's done to get a lot of the support just to do just exactly what you said. They've all bought into it. It's going to take time, but it's okay saying that. But if you continually lose games, you know, people lose patience, you know, and winning games stops that. So, you know, he really has to get his act together. I thought they were going to move on from, you touched on it there the now, they're still not a settled side.
Yeah.
They're still not a settled back four. They're still not a settled midfield. You don't know who's playing up front. You don't know who's playing wide. You know, at this stage of the season, you know, you should know 11 or 13 players who are going to be in your 13. You know, they're the ones that should be playing week in, week out, and that is not the case, and that's why you're not getting any consistency.
And of course, listen, we're not going to mince our words on it. They're playing against the worst team in the league, and they lost. So there's no excuses for them, and the only praise on the day was from David Martindale towards the goalscorer, Andrew Shinnie.
I think Andrew Shinnie, I knew I had to get him higher up the park, and I honestly thought Andrew Shinnie was incredible today. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. All the boys were great, but I thought it was he looked as though he'd played as a number 9 all his career. I thought he was brilliant today.
Maybe Andrew Shinnie not quite a number 9, but I'll tell you one thing: he nipped in and scored his goal with that Celtic's back line. I mean, he was the only man in there who just took it off the centre half and lashed it into the net.
It was a great goal. I think that Welsh is sleeping. I think he lets him get across him, takes a great first touch and wonderful finish. Joe Hart no chance, and that was it. Livingston never really created anything, but they were solid and hard to break down. And for me, Celtic could have still been playing to the day and not scored. You know, they didn't create anything. You know, a couple of shots from range from Turnbull. Carter Vickers had one, I think, from edge of the box as well, which tested the goalkeeper. But apart from that, Celtic were bereft of any kind of ideas in the final third.
Yeah, worst start in 23 years. Just before we leave that overall game, credit to Livingston. Okay, might not have had any great percentage of the possession, but they scored the all-important goal and get that valuable 3 points. As for Celtic, I mentioned off the pitch and on the pitch, Alison. Obviously, they've got Michael Nicholson coming in as chief executive, but there's no communication. There's nothing really at the moment there's been no real communication other than a couple of throwaway press releases from Dominic Mackay, and then he's out the door. There's potentially going to be a director of football. That hasn't materialised either. Gordon Strachan's in on a 3-month deal, which I just think is the most ridiculous announcement you've ever witnessed in football. He's either in doing a job or he's not. I just think that they've lost their way off the park as well.
I think these points too come into sharper focus when you're not winning games. I think if you're winning games and there's a successful team on the park, that it becomes redundant in terms of its background noise to the club. But I think when you factor it in, when results aren't coming along and performances are poor, then I think it adds to the sense of chaos around the club. I think the infrastructure isn't what you would expect from Celtic at the minute. I think we know about all the conversations about a director of football and maybe internal wranglings about whether or not that was the path that they wish to go down. I think it's very clear that a head of recruitment is necessary. I think you would have expected that before now. I think it's a pressing role at the club. I think it sets a tone for so much that goes on in terms of the football department, and I think also there's an element where people would like to see their analytics department beefed up to come into a more modern way of working in terms of analysing the data and the sports science things, and I think investing into a more modern structure. I think between that and results not going well, it adds to a sense of free fall, and it adds to a sense of no one really being in charge and directing what's going on.
Okay, that's Celtic. You can give us your view on that as well. Later on in the programme, we'll be announcing the winner of our Ronaldo shirt, along with the programme from his debut, second time around at Manchester United last week. And of course, Ruffy, as you know, threw in a pair of CR7 pants as well. Can't get any better than that. What else would Ruffy throw in? It's as simple as that. What about Rangers? They unfurled their own flag, it has to be said, but I think 50,000 Rangers fans were expecting, not only the celebration of the flag, but maybe some football to back it up as well. Didn't quite materialise, Ruffy. It ended up 1-1.
No, it wasn't similar to the Celtic game. They had all the possession again, they had all the chances, but Motherwell defended well. And the chances that came along, they took one of them, and I think at the end of the day they deserved to take the point, because I think Rangers again fell into that trap of what we all say, when the pressure heats up, certain players stop playing, and as that game went on, you could feel the tension not only on the park, but you could see it in the crowd as well, because they thought that they didn't have enough in their locker, to win the game. And yeah, there's lots of new players coming in and playing, but I don't think the players that have come in are any better than the ones that were there. So they haven't really strengthened the team, they've just filled the team with other players, and there's no like a match winner who's come in that you can see is going to pull them out of that hole when they need it.
Yeah, Ronnie says Rangers were brilliant in the first half, but the second half, excuse me, they just never got going. Very poor, inconsistent in every area of the park except McGregor. 24 chances, 1 goal. Totally pathetic, says Ronnie.
Yeah, I think he's spot on there. I think that if you looked at it, I think Rangers had about 15 or 16 shots at goal in the first half. They're not clinical enough at the minute. It's taking them 3, 4, 5 guilty chances to score 1 goal. So last season they were putting teams to bed 2 and 3 nothing in the first half, and that was it, game over. But you're always in the game at 1-0. Particularly when you go to Ibrox and Parkhead. I know as a ex-player myself, if you can just keep it tight, the fans always start to get nervous. You can feel that on the pitch. It transmits on, and you always think you'll get a chance. And Motherwell hung in, defended well, and they get one really opportunity, and they took it.
Yeah.
And Rangers just couldn't break them down the last 15-20 minutes to go and get the victory. But I just think Rangers are just... They're not as good a team, they're just not as clinical, and they've not got the same hunger about them than they did last year, for me.
So what Stephen Gerrard had to say about the performance overall, it's 2 points dropped. That was a 3 or 4-0 game. When you don't get the second or third goal, you leave yourself vulnerable at the back. We haven't defended one situation well, and we've paid for that. Yet they were sleeping, and Motherwell just nipped in and got the goal, Alison. I
think he's right. I think 1-0 is always tenuous as a scoreline, particularly when you feel the tension around the ground. And if you look at it for the perspective of any visiting team to either Ibrox or Celtic Park, you've nothing to lose as you come to the closing stages of games, like in terms of just throwing and committing players forward. Obviously not wanting to leave yourself open at the back, but you know yourself, if you get a set piece and you can take advantage of it, you can take something from the game. But I think both Celtic and Rangers, I think, have had really inauspicious starts to their campaign, and it's been interesting because neither side has really been able to capitalise on the slip-ups of the other.
Yeah, well, Kanye Willery's goal, the equalising goal, moves Motherwell up to 4th in the table. I had them going to be fighting off relegation, but they're proving everybody wrong. This is what Graham Alexander had to say about his team's performance. We wanted to carry the game to Rangers, but we also understood that we needed to be incredibly disciplined. I'm delighted that we've managed to come back from 1-0 down to get something from the game. So that's how it shaped up. You can give us your view on Rangers. Of course, there's lots of other games to talk about as well. One that I really was looking forward to was, of course, the Dundee Derby. It was a big game. We always welcome that derby in the North East. So we sent our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi to cover not only the game, but of course the unveiling of a fantastic statue to the legend that is Jim McLean.
The derbies keep coming in the Scottish Premiership. This week we're at Tannadice as Dundee United play Dundee for the first time since 2019. It's the first time these sides met in the top flight for 5 years. Now, of course, the unique aspect of this fixture is that just about 100 yards over there is Dens Park. The two stadiums are the closest together in the United Kingdom. We don't expect players to be friendly on the pitch later. Dundee haven't won in the league all season, and what a time to win their first match, whilst United have the opportunity to go into the top half with victory here today. United have only won 2 of the last 9 fixtures between these two rivals, but Dundee haven't won at Tannadice since 2004, so something has to give. There'll be no Charlie Adam for the visitors. He is the captain of Dundee, but he misses out with an injury whilst Lee Griffiths leads the line. Benjamin Siegrist returns into the United goal. Who's going to come out on top here? Let's find out. The stands have emptied here at Tannadice, and it's the home supporters, Dundee United fans, who go home the happiest. A 1-0 victory in the derby thanks to an 82nd minute strike from Ian Harkes. Goalkeeper Adam Legends in the Dundee goal could do better, there's no doubt about that, but it sent the crowd wild here. Fantastic scenes at a sellout Tannadice. The game could have gone either way. Plenty of chances. Lee Griffiths of Dundee missing a few in the first half, and 2 great clearances from United centre-half Ryan Edwards off the line to make sure that the 3 points stayed here. We spoke to manager Tam Courts at the full-time whistle. He told us what his emotions were straight after the game.
Tell you one thing, it was exhilarating to say the least. I mean, I thought I knew what I was expecting, but it was even better. And I suppose when you win, it's just a phenomenal feeling. And again, I thought it was a really good performance by us. And the goal came at a perfect time where I think we were just trying to find a way to get the breakthrough and what's right for Ian Harkes.
It was the same old story for James McPake's men. Plenty of chances, but they couldn't convert any of them. They're still winless, and they are staying down at the foot of the table.
It's one of their days again, but it can't keep being one of their days. We need to start picking up points and wins, and we need to start picking up wins. And I've got a group of players that are in there devastated because they believe they've done enough to win that game.
It's a fantastic day if you are a United fan. You're into the top half. 3 wins in your first 6 games under the new manager, starting to look up rather than down. And you'll have the bragging rights on the East Coast for the next wee while. On Saturday, Dundee United unveiled a statue in memory of their greatest ever manager, Jim McLean. Now, McLean was the boss here at Tannadice for a massive 22 years. He'd previously been a player for a number of clubs, including Dundee just down the road, but he was dedicated to the orange half of the city. During his tenure, he lifted the league in 1983. What an achievement for United. He also took them to the UEFA Cup final and also the European Cup semi-final, where they were beaten unjustly by Roma. The number of players that he brought through the club were amazing, the likes of Sturrock, Neri, Goff, Malpass, Hegarty. It just rolls off the tongue. And he will be remembered very fondly around these parts and across the entire country. In the pantheon of great Scottish managers, you have the likes of Busby, Shankly, Ferguson, Steen, and McLean will right be up there with them. And what better tribute than a win in the Dundee derby on Sunday for his team Dundee United, 1-0 against their great rivals Dundee. Jim McLean, with his statue here, will never be forgotten.
Yeah, a lovely tribute there, well covered by our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi. Nice to see it. It is a statue that looks like the man himself as well. The only thing is it's not shouting at the ex-players as they walk by.
Pointing. Or pointing.
Good win for United though, Rocky.
Well, the first thing I have to say is, and we've talked about it on this show on numerous occasions, a derby game, 2 sets of fans in the stadium. Absolutely magnificent atmosphere. Yeah. Absolutely. It's what makes football, the 2 sets and everything that was going on.
Why are you making that point, Ruffy? It's a lost cause.
I know.
Do you honestly think Rangers are going to listen to you?
No, I'd like to think the people who watched it and seen it, seen what it adds to the game. Okay, the game might not have been spectacular, but everything that happened during the game before it, I thought was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, you've built it up there and you painted a lovely picture. I mean, he's painting something that was like a Monet, whereas I thought it was more like a Picasso in the first half, because this game was kick, foul, kick, foul, kick, foul. I've never witnessed a game like it. I mean, if you were a neutral looking at that game from outside in the first half, you'd have thought, does anybody play football in this game?
Blood and snotters. Oh. I think that's it. Can only be described that game. You know, the ball was in the air. It probably needed a paracetamol at the end of the game, but both teams were fully committed. You know, and there wasn't a lot of quality. Lee Griffiths was unlucky a couple of times. Some good movement in the box, and unlucky with a header, and unlucky with one that the goalkeeper saved. But you know, he needs a goal. I think that's 2 games now. He needs to get shooting boots on, as do Dundee as a club, because that is their big issue, scoring goals. And they've got strikers there. They've got Cummins, they've got Griffiths, they've got Sheridan. So they've got guys there that can score goals, but it's just not happening for them at the minute. And that seems slipped to the bottom of the league now.
Yeah, no wins in 4, Ali. It's not looking good. And at times, again, it's not. I don't think it's anything that Dundee fans will be happy to hear, but they do play some good football, but there's no killer touch, as Tam has mentioned.
In fairness, I thought they were worthy of a point yesterday. Watched the game, I thought they played well. Thought they were unlucky that the Griffiths header early on, I think after 8 minutes, and then the one that's cleared off the line towards the death. I thought they'd done enough, but you're right, I think there's a lack of goals in the team. I think Griffiths still looks off the pace. I think you could see from the last 20 minutes, half an hour yesterday, he was dead in his feet. I think obviously he's wanting to get as many 90 minutes into him as possible to try and get him up to match sharpness and fitness. It's a long time. I think when you go back over the last few seasons, I think the stats are quite galling when you look at how little football he's actually played over a fairly sustained period of time. So it will take him time to get back up to speed, but I think the sooner the better, because he clearly needs something.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the Dundee derby. What about in the capital? Because both these sides are at the top end of the table, with aspirations of trying to keep a good run going for as long as possible. I was at Easter Road on the Saturday, thoroughly enjoyed the game. The sun was shining on Leith. I was just hoping for a real goal fest in this one. We did get 4 goals, Tam. Your boys just can't hold on to it.
No, tossed it away at the end. I think that Hibs should be sitting top of the league. In fact, they should be 6 points ahead of Celtic, because they've conceded 2 late goals, one up at Dens Park against Dundee and 2 each as well, and then again Saturday. Dreadful first half, the worst I'd seen Hibs in about 18 months. St Mirren were well worthy of their lead. Great finish from Brophy. Hibs were terrible. Front 4, none of them played well. Cadden get dragged at half time. Scott Allen come on, and for 15-20 minutes I thought, he's actually going to single-handedly get Hibs the 3 points here, because he came on and he was brilliant. He came on and he was getting on the ball, he was creating, he was slipping me balls through. Wonderful ball for McGinn's goal. I mean, everybody in the stadium was shouting shoot. Ball came to him, he was as calm as you like and just fed it to the back post, and good finish from Paul McGinn.
Yeah, I don't think, and I'm not being too derogatory towards every other player in the park, but I don't think any other player in that park was capable of the vision that he showed for that goal.
Yeah, probably not, and it was a very difficult pass, because it was coming, it was a first time pass, and they put it right into the path of Paul McGinn, inch perfect, and Paul finished it. And then they get the penalty kick, Porteous goes down, debatable penalty for me. He likes to go down easily in the box, Big Ryan. Conned the boy, is it Mark Miller, the guy for St Mirren, conned him, went down, got the penalty, and I'm thinking, Hibs are 2-1 up from nowhere. But the last 15-20 minutes, I thought St Mirren, grew into the game. They never chucked it. They kept going to the end, and not only did they score the equaliser, Kyle McAllister had a great chance in the last minute to win it. Josh Doyle shows him inside and on his left foot, and great chance for him to win it. So I think over a piece, a point was a fair result. But Hibs will be kicking themselves. They should be top of the league and should be 6 points ahead of Celtic at the minute.
Yeah, I'm going to come back to you on the penalty award in a minute. But here's Jack Ross's take on the game.
The last part of that frustration is about the first half performance as well, because we didn't play well, weren't at the levels we've been at in recent times. But as you alluded to there, the opening period of the second half, we were good and showed good character as well to respond to disappointment. So strange afternoon, because you remain undefeated and you go back top of the table, but there was a lot of frustration from the outcome and bits of the performance as well.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy, I did ask him about Scott Allen, because if anything, I don't know, but I sense from press boxes, we look at Scott Allen where there's a slight worry. Because I'm such a fan of his, and I look at him coming back and I'm willing him to do well, Ruffy, he's more than capable in the middle of the park of doing things that some of the other midfielders cannot do. And I did ask Jack Ross, are you first of all, is it difficult to motivate the boy, or what's your thoughts, because you wanted him out the door, which was a surprise. So he comes back. Scott Allen came in and said, no, he's here, that's just football, he's taking it on the chin and he's going to fight for his place. I asked him if the worry was about his health, or indeed if the fact was that in training he sees better performances elsewhere, because I can't work it out. I mean, as Tam mentioned there, 20-25 minutes he looks as if, okay, there's nothing wrong with him, and then maybe just not enough game time for him, Tam. Maybe match fitness is what he's missing.
I think the manager's got to seriously look at a player like that, who we know he's had that wee illness. I don't know the extent of it, how much he was off the pace, after coming back. But the manager would see that in training. We all know the skill he's got. He's fantastic. But the modern game now, it's okay when he's on the ball and he is better than everybody else. But there's lots of times when he's not on the ball, and maybe the manager's looking at he's not on the ball more than he's on it. So I need a player who's going to maybe dig in and give you that wee bit of grit. But sometimes if you've got players running about him, you can afford to have him. But it is noticeable he was only playing half the game, so I think he's still not up to the same fitness speed of everybody else.
Yeah. The one thing, listen, there was a set to with Porteous arguing, moments before it. And then he's highlighted that there's pushing and everything, but as soon as the grappling in the box, the referee's only got one option really. I thought it was a stonewaller.
Yeah, he does. And Mark Miller, I think, took the bait massively for St Mirren. Ryan's like that. He likes to wind opponents up, and as soon as you wrap your hand around someone in the box and you go down, it's a penalty kick. And Jim Goodwin's, I think, had a little pop at Porteous, but I think he's got to have more of a pop at his player and just say, listen, don't get involved. That's what Ryan Porteous is going to do. He's going to try and get a penalty or get a free kick. Just stay away from him. He was very similar to Stephen Presley. Stephen Presley was like, I used to hate playing against Elvis because any time you went near Elvis, he just went down.
Yeah.
See if there's a ball into the channel and you were chasing it, and he slightest a touch, he'd done it for years.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't get near him, he'd just go down and get a foul every single time. And Ryan did that as well. He seems to have mastered that, that art.
Stephen, if you're watching, you can reply at any point if you think Tom's just talking.
Any sign me for Falkirk.
Tosh, exactly. I'll tell you the one thing though, I do love Jim Goodwin coming into a press conference because listen, there's none of this kind of trying to sugarcoat things. Jim just let rip.
There's too many big decisions and too many key moments in games that's costing us. And I know people will say, there's Jim Goodwin moaning again about officials, but I'm not bothered really, to be honest with you. Too many times I've been diplomatic in the past, and you don't get any favours for it. So we've had 3 goals chalked off or disallowed in the last 3 games. We've had a penalty given against us there today. In my opinion, shouldn't have been a penalty. These decisions are costing us points.
Okay, he's not happy with the penalty that was awarded. I thought Jim was wrong. I thought it was a penalty, but over and above that, he's not holding back. He doesn't. As soon as a manager says to me, I've held back before, I think, here we go. Come on, Jim, just baseball bat everybody. And sure as fate, he was not happy with the ref or refs that have denied him in previous games.
And let's not knock it. We like an opinion.
Oh,
so,
we love it.
No, fantastic, but I'm not sure if it was. I think he gave the referee something to think about and a decision to make, but I took his point that it's a perennial aspect of his game that he needs his own players to be smart about. You need a bit of streetwise element to your own players in that situation. Okay,
I must check the rules just to see if you've got your arms around somebody's waist and you're pushing them all the way in the box. If it's not a penalty. Absolutely. But nevertheless, Jim's not happy about it. It's ended up 2-2, and Hibs and Tam's not happy about it. What about the Jambos? You got to go up to Ross County and win if you want to really continue this good form. But they couldn't do it.
No, and Malky's been saying he saw something in his players that they're just near to turn to get that win. I thought they might have just sneaked it at the weekend there, but Blair Spittle's goals were good. It's just amazing that he was with us last year. A big player for us. Now he's the captain of Ross County. Well done to him. He's a nice lad. But that's what we were talking about in the early. Just Hearts and Hibs just don't have that. A wee bit of something special to say to themselves, look, this is a chance. Celtic getting beat and Rangers struggling, and they're dropping points, and they should be up there. And I think that's a good thing about this season, that nobody's running away with it. People are having a lot of inconsistency, and it's quite tight, and I think that's what we want as neutrals. We want to see a competitive league rather than somebody running away with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Jambos couldn't quite get the win they were looking for up there. Ross County may well have thought they had the 3 points until Kingsley hit an absolute raker of a free kick, Ali. It was an absolute peach. Yeah, it was a cracker, wasn't it? He looks a player. He does indeed. He's impressed. The few times I've seen him this season, I thought he's been impressive. But yeah, extraordinary goal. It's strange, Tam. What's happening in the SFA coaching? Are you just asking everybody to be great left backs? Any chance of a couple of centre halves and an out-and-out striker? Yeah, I know. It seems to be a lot of good left backs that we've got. I actually played with Stephen Kingsley when he was a kid at Falkirk, and Stephen Presley, I've just mentioned him there, was the guy that gave him his opportunity. So Elvis has got to take a lot of credit for that. But I think Ross County will be delighted that they're not bottom of the league. As I said to you at the weekend, Hearts, Hibs, Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, St Johnstone, first 6 games, they're not bottom of the league.
and they've now got all your teams round about them to play. So I think Malky will be pretty upbeat. I think so will the Ross County fans.
I don't see. I mean, I know you do, Ruffy. It's all about opinions. I've tipped
because he hates Ross County.
Well, I was going to say I've tipped Rangers to win the league. I'm sticking with that. I think Ross County will be good enough to get away because I think Malky's experience will help them. I did tip Motherwell to win the playoffs, but I don't know about that. I might change the playoff place, but I still think Livingston will go down. The only one I'll change it with is maybe Aberdeen, Ruffy. Aberdeen could be toilet because I think the next guy we're going to speak to is in serious need of help. He's on the biggest downer ever of all time. But
I can see why. You know, we all expected special things for the new manager and Scott Brown going up there and the signings that went in, and I'm sure the supporters will be scratching their heads as well. And the manager himself, after the speaking to the press after it, he's not been as bubbly as what he was at the start, so it'll be affecting him as well. So they just need a win, you know, same as every team, they need a win. But they're still sitting middle of the table, you know, I don't know, you know, they must have done something right somewhere. I know they're on a bad run, but they're not in any desperate stages of being down the bottom.
Yeah, I'll tell you one man who enjoyed that result, it was Stevie May, because when he scored the goal, the Aberdeen fans must have been giving him pelters, but it's a tough one to take. Stephen Glass says he thinks, you know, the form will turn.
I am disappointed, the players are disappointed, and I know that the fans go home frustrated as well, but I think I'd say the intent's there from the team, and they're trying everything they can, and I think it will turn. And obviously you got to keep pushing, you got to keep working, and there's no reason for us to doubt the group of players that's here.
Andrew, when I go into press conferences, I always sometimes treat what a manager says with a pinch of salt because they paint lovely pictures. But what's your take on Aberdeen at the moment? Their worst run in almost a decade.
Yep, I was just looking at a few stats before coming on to speak to you, Peter, and I'm afraid they're all negative. 1 clean sheet in 13. We've gone 10 games without stopping the opposition scoring a goal. No wins in 7, as you say, the worst run for 10 years. 7th in the table. 4 games of the next 6 are against teams who are ahead of us in the league. We've only scored 4 in the last 7. Something's got to change. I mean, I'm looking at the possession stats. 75.4% against Ross County. We've got a draw, courtesy of a howler from Ross Laidlaw in the last minute. 75% against Motherwell. We'll get beat 2-0. 66% against St Johnstone. We'll get beat 1-0. So possession's not everything, and that's the problem. Aberdeen are enjoying plenty of possession, but they're doing nothing with it. I mean, we had 3 shots on target on Saturday, none of which would have caused Xander Clark, any worries at all. In fact, he was so confident that he wore an all-white strip at Pittodrie, and I dare say that the kit man this morning just hung it up again. Doesn't have to wash it because he didn't break sweat. It's a real problem for Aberdeen, this lack of penetration, and the sooner Ryan Hedges is back, the better. But you can't rely on one player. It's got to be collective responsibility that gets you victories. And at the moment, we're just not getting that.
Who's not playing well?
It's easier to say who is playing well. And on Saturday, it was difficult to find an Aberdeen player who was worthy of pass marks because they were all a bit lacklustre. As Stephen Glass said, there's no lack of effort, but it's all perspiration and no inspiration. And the goal was so symptomatic of the way Aberdeen are playing this season. They lose possession in the middle of the park. It gets played forward to Stevie May. You've got Calvin Ramsey and Declan Gallagher who can go and make a challenge. Neither does. They show him inside. Declan Gallagher makes a half-hearted effort to block the shot. And then when it comes in, Joe Lewis is beaten at his near post. Now, Joe has had a fantastic clean sheet record for Aberdeen down the years. In his first 225 games up to the start of this season, 87 clean sheets. 39% of his games, he kept clean sheets. He's kept 1 in 13 so far this season. So, that's where the problem lies. Defensively, we're just not good enough to keep teams out. And when you lose the touch in front of goal, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so many people responding to what you're saying, Aberdeen fans agreeing with you, and one says Andrew had a full head of hair at the start of the season, but he's now, but he's now no longer, Ruffy. And of course, Ruffy, what a great line from Andrew there saying Xander Clark put on a white strip from the kit man, and he probably didn't need it washed. He could have just hung it up again. I don't think there's too many times you've been able to do that, Ruffy. Eh?
No, not at all. Not particularly up at Pittodrie. Anyway, you always knew you got a game up there. But yeah, no, but he's still smiling. He's still happy. You know.
Hey, I was there when Ebby Skovdahl was the manager, and we went something like 9 games without even scoring a goal, far less winning a game. So it's not all doom and gloom, but the sooner they start winning games, the better.
Yeah, I love the way Andrew's put it in perspective. Nine games under Ebby Skovdahl, he didn't score a goal. You think it's bad? It's not that bad yet.
Always looking at the bright side.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Andrew, the key element of this, you'll not even like this. This is Callum Davison after the game summing up St Johnstone's performance.
If you ask me what probably is our worst performance in the league, we'd probably say that one today. But what we did was we kept at it. I thought defensively we were really good. I thought our shape and our sort of energy to try and stop Aberdeen were good. A little bit disappointed on the flip side when we won the ball back and what we did with the ball, especially first half. I think we probably rushed things, tried to play too many first-time passes. We didn't control the game enough going forward for me. Second half, I thought we got better and we grew into the game.
Yeah, it's bad when a manager says it's their worst performance of the season and they get a 1-0 win. Just before you go, Andrew, what needs to happen now with the side? Is there, the Aberdeen fans frustrated with the possession, as you say, going nowhere? Do they need to change the way they're playing? Do they need to change, maybe and drop a few that think they're undroppable?
I think there's a number of things that need to be sorted, but first and foremost, get the back door locked. Rome wasn't built in a day, but it was built on solid foundations, and that's why it still stands to this day. So that's what every good team builds on, is a solid defence, and then you work your way forward. Ruffy will know all about that. You know, if you've got good defenders in front of you, it takes so much pressure off the team as a whole. But the team has got to defend as a whole and attack as a whole. At the moment, it's too many disparate parts that aren't working properly, so it's a case of get themselves onto the training ground and almost get back to basics and just say, look, you know, we've all had success at various times in our careers. What was it built on? It was this, that and that. Right, let's get that back into our game. And once that comes back, then there is quality in the Aberdeen squad. There's no getting away from it. But until such time as they start producing that quality in the right places in the park at the right times, there will be criticism coming in. There's a lot being aimed at the chairman because people are looking at him and saying, Stephen Glass was your appointment. He was untested in Scottish football. But Stephen's been round the block, as Tam well knows. He knows the Scottish game inside out. I have no doubt that Stephen Glass will turn out to be a successful manager. He's going through a difficult spell at the moment. He's not alone. As Ruffy said, you know, everybody has been inconsistent this season. And that is the beauty of the league, that anybody can beat anybody on their given day. We saw it at the Tony Macaroni yesterday. But from an Aberdeen perspective, they're not interested in that. They just want themselves to be putting W's into the column at the end of the game. And it's not going to be easy at St Mirren, because we saw how tough they were against Hibs at the weekend. But I hope that the work done in the training ground this week and the focus on getting things right, building it from a solid defensive unit, sees something happening. I believe Ryan Hedges may well play. That could be the catalyst for some good things coming for Aberdeen.
Yeah, here's hoping. You speak a lot of sense, Andrew. Thanks once again for joining us. Of course, Ruffy, he's mentioned there, you know, good teams are built on a solid foundation from the back. You need that solid back line. It's not only Aberdeen, Celtic are learning that lesson. Although the best line from everybody reacting to what Andrew says has to be the line from somebody who says, I hope this guy only owns plastic knives in his house. Which kind of sums up his kind of sums up his mood at the moment, Ruffy.
Yeah, but I mean, we spoke about it right at the beginning of the season, the new training ground, the new manager, Scott Brown, all the players that were coming in. I think everybody thought this was going to be a big season for Aberdeen. Then they get knocked out of the cup. Now they're on this run, so yeah, I think they just need to start winning games, and I'm sure they will. Yeah. Win games eventually.
When you get weekends like we had, I'm not going to show you the predictions at the moment, but I am going to show you what I eagerly look forward to. There were more than a few occasions last season, when Gabriel Antonazzi's Team of the Week had no Celtic players in it. Could this be another Team of the Week without a single Celtic player in it? Let's find out.
Benjamin Siegrist returned to the United goal and made 3 saves to deliver a clean sheet in the derby. Stephen O'Donnell captained his side to a draw at Ibrox, leading by example by keeping his shape and defending resolutely. Joe Shaughnessy scored the crucial equaliser for the Buddies, who thoroughly deserved a point at Easter Road. Ryan Edwards made 2 goal-line clearances for United, turning a possible defeat into victory. Charlie Mulgrew got his head on everything that Dundee threw at them and has been a crucial addition to the United back line. Jordan Marshall was the biggest threat Dundee had, marauding down the left flank, putting in several dangerous crosses. Yando Fuchs was the best player on the park in the derby and is constantly improving. He could go right to the top. Scott Allen played a pass that only he could for Paul McGinn's equaliser, deftly dinking the ball over the defence. Blair Spittle scored both of County's goals, and the Staggy skipper was the standout man in Dingwall on Saturday. Andrew Shinnie took his goal so well, rifling the ball into the net and securing another famous Livy win over Celtic. Stevie May came off the bench to give the Saints their first win of the campaign, and he lapped up the celebrations in front of his former team.
There you are, it's a 3-5-2. I think I influenced them to stick Scott Allen in for 20 minutes of genius. Look, what do you want? Do you want 20 minutes of genius or 90 minutes of kick, foul, free kick, foul, kick, foul?
You all get in the Team of the Week when you do that.
Exactly. What do you want? What kind of player do you want?
How is Eamon Brophy on now?
Yeah.
Eamon Brophy was outstanding.
Yeah, Eamon Brophy was good. But Stevie May scores the winner.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not having it?
No, Eamon Brophy's got to be in there.
Yeah.
Terrible for Gabs. He wasn't at the game, was it? You were at the game. How did you tell him? Brophy was brilliant.
I'd forgotten all about Brophy because I couldn't believe Scott Allen.
By the way, Scott Allen was brilliant for 25 minutes, and I thought he's blew a gasket. He could maybe take him back half here.
Yeah.
But
well, to be honest with you, by the way,
Charlie McGrew's tackle.
Charlie McGraw's tackle was up. That was top drawer as well. Ali, with all due respect, it depends on what type of person you are when you watch football.
It's because you're a maverick.
Well, I was going to say to you, I actually remember somebody saying to me in a match where Celtic defeated Hearts by 2-1, and I said to them, "Do you remember anything about the game?" And they went, "Yeah, I remember Lubomir Moravcik trapping the ball with his back end." And I thought, now, if you can get to a situation, I can remember Ronaldinho in a game in Europe actually playing a pass with his back. Nobody talked about the goals, they just talk about the skill, because that's what people want to see.
I think moments like that are so unusual that they do stick in the mind. I was working actually at that game where Moravcik brought the ball down with his backside, and it was just so audacious. It was just and so unlike anything that you're used to seeing that it sticks out.
Ali, how many times would Lubomir Moravcik have said to his, who says to him in a Czechoslovakian FA coaching course, right, everybody, gather round, we're going to trap the ball with our arse. hey, Tam? Tam, who says that?
That's surely a ban. You always say it's Lord,
honestly, well, who says that?
No,
that's
nobody,
how good he was.
That's brilliant.
I
remember the goal he scored against Hibs in the Rocket.
Yeah.
For about 35 yards.
I think I was commentating on
you were, and Art McLeish absolutely slaughtered me at half time, so I never shot him down. I went, he's actually just scored for 35 yards, Gaffer, and you don't want me to shot him down. That was a rocket, remember that? That was 4-0 at half time.
And I give you this. After 18 minutes or something like that, I remember.
We won the second half 1-0.
Well, I give you the see, positives. I give you Ruffy here sitting down, and I say to Ruffy on many an occasion, if ever I enjoyed Scottish football in the 70s, it was watching Andy Ritchie. Now, Andy Ritchie gave Ruffy a torrid time. What a player he was.
Unbelievable. No movement whatsoever.
But he had a player.
He had a balance. He had on the ball. He had something. He had something that nobody else had. You know, I think the only two people who had that kind of ability at that time was him and Davy Cooper, who could hit the ball with the outside of their foot. I don't think anybody would try it, but they did it. They did it whenever opportunity they got, and they entertained. You know, and that's why the supporters loved them, because they could do that wee bit special that nobody else could do.
Somebody's mentioned here, and I remember this as well, although I don't think I would like to have been at the opposite gaffer on this one. Kanchelskis standing on the ball.
Was it Ayr?
Doing that.
Semi-final?
Yeah. I think if you'd have been a centre half like Yogi and he'd tried it there.
Yogi was playing that, I think. He was playing that day.
I'm surprised he didn't try and put him 500 feet in the air, Ruffy. But again, listen.
That might have been the final, actually.
Wee bits of skill you love, don't you?
Definitely at hand.
You do.
Yeah, it was definitely,
I mean, supporters, that's what you go along. I mean, sometimes the game gets too serious. You know, I think you're going to talk about a couple of things down in England that happened. But there's too much thought going into the game now, and just letting the entertainers just entertain, just do something special for us.
I'll give you something else. I mean, I talk about entertainment. What about the noise ups? I can remember, I think it might have been Quinton Young. Certainly Bertie Auld did it as well. If it wasn't Quinton Young, it would have been Willie Johnson sat in the ball.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that's disrespectful. Some people would say.
I know, but people turn around and think, you know, it's a great noise up. You know, a flick here and there.
Who was the boy for Rangers that Rainbow flicked it against Alloa or something? Was it someone loan?
They were going crazy. It was a great bit of skill.
I can't remember the boy. It's a young kid.
I think he got him from Arsenal.
Yeah. And he backflicked. It was a brilliant bit of skill when all the Alloa players were wanting to smash him.
Yeah.
That's just Scottish football, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, listen, you only have to look at Ronaldo and some of the flicks, but I think Ronaldinho was certainly up there as one of the guys who could come out with just completely and utterly audacious. Anyway, down south, they were talking about something which is very, very interesting. Ruffy, Davy Moyes brought on Mark Noble for a penalty kick. Now, I've listened to various pundits arguing the piece over it. I think they've blown it out of all proportion here. He comes on to take a penalty kick. It's 12 yards. You know, okay,
shouldn't have warm up, should you? Really?
12 yards, a penalty kick. If he misses it, he misses it. If he scores, he scores.
Well, if he scores, he's a hero, and the manager's fantastic for having a bit of vision of putting somebody on who scored the last 15, 20 or whatever. He's not missed one. So why would you not rely on him to do it? You know, but as soon as you miss it, then you come under criticism.
Yeah.
You know, that's when people start saying, "What's that all about?" You know, you get people in the park surely can take it, but you stand by your decisions, and it never worked.
Yeah, the drama of it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer thought he would score.
I believe in David, and I've seen him. He saved against Crystal Palace last season, didn't he? And his foot was just a little inch off the line. So, and I've seen Mark Noble score so many penalties. So, of course, you did feel down and out, and you expected to come on with 1 point, but luckily David has just continued his good form.
De Gea makes a great save, Rafi. Well, a great save or a poor penalty. It was a good height for him to make the save. But the one thing that stuck out in that game for me, yet again, when Fernandes gets the ball, Ronaldo's off and running.
Yeah. Well, that's it. It's they play with each other at national level. They train with each other at national level. They train with them at club level. And when you get to read somebody, and I'm sure Tam was the same when he played, there'll be players on the Hibs side he knew will be making a run as soon as he got the ball. He wouldn't have to look up. Somebody, if it's a fullback or a midfielder or whatever, will be making runs that you practice during the week. That's why you train during the week. You get to know the strengths and weaknesses of the guys that you're playing with, and that's what they're doing at Man U.
Yeah, of course, wins for Liverpool, and Arsenal managed a win as well. Manchester City slipped up, although Chelsea look as if they're going to take some stopping in that league.
Definitely, I'm really impressed with him yesterday. I think he's a top manager, Thomas Tuchel, and made a big decision at half time. He hooked Mason Mount and put Kante on, and that was a big decision, but it worked. You know, he's not scared to make changes within the game, and Chelsea went on and absolutely dominated. Could have won 4 or 5-0 in the second half. They are the team to beat for me in the Premiership.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we go to our last article, I must say well done to our winner of our competition, because there's so many people in for it, subscribing to our channel. But congratulations to Michael Emmons. He is the winner of our Ronaldo top and also the CR7 pants. Hope they fit you, Michael. And also the match day programme from that day when Ronaldo's second.
In the washing machine.
Yeah.
You don't want lice off him.
There you are, Michael. A wee bit of advice from Tam, who used to live in a flat on his own in Edinburgh. So good luck with the CR7 pants, the top as well. And there's going to be even more chances to win on the programme. I'm coming up with very special prizes. At this week's prize, I have to tell you, I'm going to have a moan here. This week's prize, Ali, would have been a Hibs top, had it not been for the fact that Jack Ross took an absolute eternity to come into the press conference, completely forgot all about everybody. We had to wait such a long time, well over an hour after the game. We didn't get out of Easter Road till 6:10, and the shop was closed, or I would have had a Hibs top to give away this week. It was just nothing worse than the press.
To me,
and by the way, they were an angry, you know what they're like, the troops were angry.
It's not all glamour.
Oh, it's not. You know, it's...
Have you a Hibs strip? Just ask me. Have I got you one?
I know I should have said to you, but I thought Jack's usually sharp. He's usually in there. Get your finger out, Jack, will you?
They're only 90 quid, actually.
Yeah, yeah, the one you were getting me. Anyway, we'll get a hold of a Hibs top and give that away. Could be this week, could be next week, but there are lots of good prizes on the way. I promise you that. Now, for people of a certain age, and I'm talking about Ruffy, not necessarily yourself, Ali, not so much Tam as well. The player who passed away at the weekend, from my own point of view, because I love football and wallowing in great players and their stats and everything, when he passed away, it was a genuine sadness to hear that the great Jimmy Greaves, at 81 years of age, had passed away at the weekend. Never mind being great on the telly with Ian St John, which they undoubtedly were. As a footballer, he was an absolute genius.
One of England's greatest ever players, Jimmy Greaves, has died at the age of 81. The striker scored 44 goals in just 57 games for the Three Lions, including a record 6 hat-tricks, and he was part of the 1966 World Cup winning squad, although he didn't feature through injury. He's the highest ever scorer in the English top flight, which includes 268 goals for Spurs, which still is a club record, and 132 in 4 seasons at Chelsea, a club he began his career at in 1957. Greaves spent 1 season in Milan and is still the 3rd top goalscorer in the history of Europe's top 5 leagues. He ended his career at West Ham in 1971 with 5 trophies and 466 goals to his name. Greaves later battled alcoholism, but he returned to the nation's screens as half of the much-loved Saint and Greavesy programme. Jimmy Greaves, one of England's greatest ever footballers, whose record-breaking goals and personality will never be forgotten.
Yeah, fantastic left peg on him, Ruffy. I mean, his goal-scoring record is absolutely incredible as well. I think like 44 in 57 games for England. Absolutely magnificent goal-scoring for Chelsea. He scored on his debut for every professional club he played for.
Yeah, I've said this on numerous occasions. In the modern day, we talk about what players get sold for, whether it's 100 million, 150 million, if they're on 300 a week, 200 a week. But at the end of the day, it's your stats. It's your stats and the goals that you scored during your career. That's what I go by, you know, in judging a player. And certainly the Chelsea one in particular was something that was 124, but it was about 160 games.
Yeah.
You know, it was something incredible like that, you know. So
I think actually, I think I'd written it down. It was something like 132 goals that he'd scored in his time with Chelsea.
Yeah.
Incredible. He scored 114 goals for Chelsea's youth team before he managed to break into the side as well.
And I have to say, and I think he's well documented, I think the biggest disappointment in his career was not playing in the final, you know, and he picked up that injury and Jeff Hurst got in there, and that's something, you know, that you'd want to have been part of. And I'm sure, I know Jeff Hurst scored the goals, but I'm certainly sure if he had played in the final, he'd had something to say about it as well, because that's what kind of guy he was.
Yeah, it's a great stat that Ruffy points out there. 132 goals. He's still 7th in Chelsea's all-time top goal scorers. Remarkable.
It's extraordinary. When you consider the time that's elapsed since then too, it's such a considerable feat. And I think the mark of great players is that even for younger generations, you know about their achievements and you know what they've done in the game, and you might not rhyme off their stats, but you know the imprint that they left on their clubs, and certainly you would know who Jimmy Greaves was without a doubt.
Yeah, 100 goals before he was, I think before he was 20. Tam. If that
was 15 years ago, I scored 100 goals.
If that doesn't kill you, nothing will.
Fantastic.
You would have tried to catch Jimmy's tally.
No, listen, obviously before my time, but you know, my dad obviously is a lot older than me, and he was a top player. And I always remember St Greaves' show. You know, I was born in 81, so late 80s, early 90s. Up on a Saturday morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, setting Greaves, you've seen all the highlights for English games. So that was my kind of experience of Jimmy Greaves, but listen, his stats tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think actually, I remember Bertie Auld telling me that he played in a game against Tottenham at Hampden for Celtic. Bertie Auld says he thought he played well, and he says but Greaves was outstanding as well in a 3-3 draw, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think if you see most of the clips, you know, everything's run about in the 18-yard box, but he was one of these strikers that had that wee half a yard or a yard that could get away, and you have to look at the condition of some of these pitches. You have to look, you can through mud, you know, and you consider what they're playing in the day.
Livingston's part, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh. By the way, don't get me started on artificial pitches, but yeah, 266 goals and 379 appearances for Tottenham Hotspur. He's a legend there, undoubtedly. And I think a lot of people, it was nice to see the tributes over the weekend. Harry Kane, obviously highlighting the quality that Greaves possessed while wearing the white of Tottenham Hotspur. Jimmy Greaves sadly passed away, but one of the true greats, a legend of the game. Just before we go, not too many legends on the predictions panel, to be perfectly honest with you. Ruffy, you really at this moment are just a point ahead of Gabriel Antoniazzi now. Tam up there at 45. I've slipped just a point behind Hugh McDonald, and they're out in front, but it's a slender lead now, Ruffy, for Alison McConnell.
Yeah, I think it was a crazy weekend for everybody. I think if we look at the scores, you know, I don't think we were very successful at all. I'm going to do the Jim Goodwin. I'm blaming everybody else. I could have had 10 points if it hadn't been for that goal 2 minutes to the end and that kick off the line at Dundee United. But I think we're all into it now. Yeah. I think it's going to be a long season. Oh. There's going to be highs and lows, and I can't go any lower than nothing.
Well, just a minute. I cannot remember. I've asked everybody. This must be the first time in our 10-year history, Ruffy, that someone has scored no points at the weekend. How do you feel about that record?
Well, obviously Eurovision, we get no points every year, so I'm just going to be positive and say it can't get any worse.
Yeah, and for experience, Tam, I give you times when I think Ipswich Town thought they were going to win the Old First Division, Liverpool caught them. Aston Villa thought they were going to win it, Liverpool caught them. And I mean, that for me is the clear indication of Alison at the moment, sitting there with that condescending look in her face. But I think it's all going to come crumbling.
Yeah. Well, she's 18 points clear of bottom. That's all she's wondering about. Exactly. I am 8 points ahead of Gabs. And that's all I'm worried about. I want Ruffy and Gabs to be detached. No offence. I want you to be scrapping out. And then in about January, February, you go, listen, we'll just go half.
It's amazing. Ali's sitting at the top of the league, right? But after the results on Saturday, they were poor, weren't they?
I get 2 points.
And you could see the anxiety hitting in. Oh yeah. She's sitting top of the league. No, I've got nothing.
Exactly. If the WhatsApp
I would just like it in record that I proposed a kitty before this started.
I
know you proposed it, but it ain't happening, is it, Tom? No. It's as simple as that.
I was all for the safety net.
Yeah, absolutely. But to be fair, as long as the work keeps rolling in for you, Alison, I think we'll be all right for a good meal out.
Oh, she's got a few gigs.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Listen, thank you to the countless people who've actually mentioned their own team, thoughts on everybody else as well. I think, hopefully, the majority of people who follow our programme, we're really, really delighted that you mention your team. You can win prizes. If you download the app, you can get all the latest breaking football stories across the UK and Europe and globally, world football as well. And over and above that, we're on Monday to Friday. I'm not sure if there's any other show other than the BBC that is putting out 5 days a week with pundits, with managers and players interviews. So thank you to you all for watching us and subscribing as well. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit the button, subscribe to the channel. There's lots more coming up. We've got more and more new dream teams on the way. We've got one-to-ones on the way with some very special players, old managers and players as well, looking back on their careers. So it's well worth joining us at PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. From today, thanks to Ruffy, thanks to Tam, thanks to the overall predictions leader, Alison McConnell, and from myself, Peter Marston. Thank you to you for watching the programme. We'll see you tomorrow.